So we're going to go through a few commands, a few other Linux commands for accessing files, doing things to files, basic file operations. First, say you want to view a file. You want to see what's in a file. One way to do that is to use a text editor. So say you got a file, like in my case, I have a file called test file. I see I'm doing ls, and I look in my directories and I see 3 subdirectories, but I also see this file called test file, which notice it colors it differently than the directories, but that's fine. So if I want to see that file, one way to do it would be to just use my text editor, type nano test file. If I did that, it would open up nano and I would see the contents of the test file there. So you can use your text editor. But sometimes you don't care to do that, you just want to get a printout of the file. So you can use cat. Cat test file, you can see there, it just prints out the contents of the file. Test, just some junk I put in a file. So cat is another way of viewing a file. Cat prints it to the terminal. Now, there's another command called head, which prints the first 10 lines of a file. And then there's last, or tail, which is the same thing, which prints the last 10 lines. Now, head and tail both would do exactly the same thing on this file, right, because it's less than 10 lines long. Now, you can modify head and tail. If you look at head and tail, they have options to change the number of lines. So say I want to look at the first 20 lines. You can say head-20, I think, and it'll print out 20 lines or something like that. So you can change those, but that's what they are. CP. CP is copy. It stands for copying a file. So we use that here. So I get into my directory ls, and you see in the directory I got a test file. So I do a CP. CP takes 2 arguments generally. One argument is the original name of the file, the name of the original file, and the second argument is the name of the new file, the copy that you want to create. So in this case, I'm saying CP test file test2. Then if I type ls, get a directory, you can see now there are 2 files in there. There's a test file and there's another file in there called test2. So it created a new file called test2. And if I cat test file and I cat test2, you can see that they're exactly the same. So it just made a copy, gave it a name, gave it the name test2 that I specified. Now another command for manipulating files is mv, stands for move. So it's to move a file. Now you can use that really in one of 2 ways, at least 2 ways. One way is to change the name of a file. And the other way is to move it to a new place. So changing the name of the file, we're doing that first. We say ls, we see there are 2 files, test2 and test file. Now let's say I want to move test file, I want to rename test file. So I can say move test file test1. It will move test file to a new file called test1. So that all I'm really doing is a rename, right? And now if I do an ls, you can see there's test1 and test2. So there's no longer a test file in there. It's now called test1. It's been moved to a new name. Now another thing I can use move for is to move it to a new directory. So say I make a directory called test directory, make dir test dir. And then I type ls, and you see there's a directory called test dir there. Then I can do move test2 test dir. And in that case, what it does is it doesn't say, oh, let me rename test2 to be test dir. It sees that test dir exists and that it's a directory. So it says, okay, it takes test2 and moves it into the test dir directory. So now, after I do that, if I type ls, you'll see in my current directory, I don't see test2 anymore. That's because it's been moved to a new directory. Now, if I type cd test dir, if I change directory to test dir, and then I type ls, I can say, test2 is now in that directory. So it successfully moved it to a new directory. Thank you.